Ozymandias by Percy Bysshe Shelley. Recorded for LibriVox.org by Algy Pug, using a Rode NT1A condenser microphone, a Yamaha Audiogram 6 USB interface, and NCH WavePad on a Windows PC. Ozymandias. I met a traveller from an antique land who said, "Two vast and trunkless legs of stone stand in the desert. Near them, on the sand, half sunk, a shattered visage lies, whose frown and wrinkled lip, and sneer of cold command, tell that its sculptor well those passions read which still survive stamped on these lifeless things, the hand that mocked them, and the heart that fed. And on the pedestal these words appear: My name is Ozymandias, King of Kings. Look on my works, ye mighty, and despair." Nothing beside remains. Round the decay of that colossal wreck, boundless and bare, the lone and level sands stretch far away. End of Ozymandias by Percy Bysshe Shelley. This recording is in the public domain. Mutability by Percy Bysshe Shelley. Recorded for LibriVox.org by Algy Pug, using a Samson Q7 dynamic microphone, a Yamaha Audiogram 6 USB interface, and NCH WavePad on a Windows PC. Mutability. We are as clouds that veil the midnight moon. How restlessly they speed and gleam and quiver, streaking the darkness radiantly. Yet soon night closes round, and they are lost for ever. Or like forgotten lyres, whose dissonant strings give various responses to each varying blast, to whose frail frame no second motion brings one mood or modulation like the last. We rest. A dream has power to poison sleep. We rise. One wandering thought pollutes the day. We feel, conceive or reason, laugh or weep, embrace fond woe, or cast our cares away. It is the same, for, be it joy or sorrow, the path of its departure still is free. Man's yesterday may ne'er be like his morrow, naught may endure but mutability. End of Mutability by Percy Bysshe Shelley. This recording is in the public domain. A Dream Within a Dream by Edgar Allan Poe. Recorded for LibriVox.org by Algy Pug, using a Logitech C615 webcam and NCH WavePad on a Windows PC. A Dream Within a Dream. Take this kiss upon the brow, and, in parting from you now, thus much let me avow. You are not wrong who deem that my days have been a dream. Yet if hope has flown away in a night or in a day, in a vision or in none, is it therefore the less gone? All that we see or seem is but a dream within a dream. I stand amid the roar of a surf-tormented shore, and I hold within my hand grains of the golden sand. How few! Yet how they creep through my fingers to the deep, while I weep, while I weep! O God, can I not grasp them with a tighter clasp? O God, can I not save one from the pitiless wave? Is all that we see or seem is but a dream within a dream? End of A Dream Within a Dream by Edgar Allan Poe. This recording is in the public domain. Go Lovely Rose by Edmund Waller. Recorded for LibriVox.org by Algy Pug, using an MXL USB 007 microphone and NCH WavePad on a Windows PC. Go, lovely rose. Go, lovely rose, tell her that wastes her time and me, that now she knows, when I resemble her to thee, how sweet and fair she seems to be. Tell her that's young, and shuns to have her graces spied, that, hadst thou sprung in deserts where no men abide, thou must have uncommended died. Small is the worth of beauty from the light retired. Bid her come forth, suffer herself to be desired, and not blush so to be admired. Then die, that she the common fate of all things rare may read in thee, how small a part of time they share that are so wondrous sweet and fair. End of Go Lovely Rose by Edmund Waller. This recording is in the public domain. A Thing of Beauty from Endymion by John Keats. Recorded for LibriVox.org by Algy Pug using the internal microphone on a Dell Venue 8 Pro 5000 tablet and Audacity. A Thing of Beauty from Endymion. A thing of beauty is a joy for ever. Its loveliness increases. It will never pass into nothingness, but still will keep a bower quiet for us, and a sleep full of sweet dreams, and health, and quiet breathing. Therefore, on every morrow, are we wreathing a flowery band to bind us to the earth, spite of despondence, of the inhuman dearth of noble natures, of the gloomy days, of all the unhealthy and o'er-darkened ways made for our searching. Yes, in spite of all, some shape of beauty moves away the pall from our dark spirits. Such the sun, the moon, trees old and young, sprouting a shady boon for simple sheep, and such are daffodils for the green world they live in, and clear rills that for themselves a cooling covert make 'gainst the hot season. The mid-forest brake, rich with a sprinkling of fair musk-rose blooms, and such, too, is the grandeur of the dooms we have imagined for the mighty dead, an endless fountain of immortal drink, pouring unto us from the heavens' brink. End of A Thing of Beauty from Endymion by John Keats. This recording is in the public domain. Embarkation by Thomas Hardy. Recorded for LibriVox.org by Algy Pug using a Zoom H4n handy recorder. Embarkation. Southampton Docks, October 1899. Here where Vespasian's legions struck the sands, and Cendric with the Saxons entered in, and Henry's army leapt afloat to win convincing triumphs over neighbouring lands, vaster battalions press for further strands, to argue in the self-same bloody mode, which this late age of thought and pact and code still fails to mend. Now deck-ward tramp the bands, yellow as autumn leaves, alive as spring, and as each host draws out upon the sea, beyond which lies the tragical to be, none dubious of the cause, none murmuring, wives, sisters, parents, wave white hands and smile, as if they knew not that they weep the while. End of Embarkation by Thomas Hardy. This recording is in the public domain.
Death by Richard Watson Dixon. Recorded for LibriVox.org by Newgate Novelist, using a Samson Meteorite USB microphone and Audacity on a Windows PC. I grieve not at the thought of pain, I wear no eye of gloom, though with the halting funeral train I stand beside the tomb, and in the fading of earth's light my torch becomes a plume. Besides the perished form do I preserving bonds inter, I burn the costly spicery of rosemary and myrrh, I bind about my happy brow the ever-during fir. Upon the hillock of the grave I plant the living sod. Each atom of earth's dust I save, to be returned to God. There is an angel great and dread in each revered clod. End of Death by Richard Watson Dixon. This recording is in the public domain.
Extract from the History of the Decline and Fall of the Roman Empire, Volume 1, by Edward Gibbon. Recorded for LibriVox.org by Patrick Eaton, using a Kinobo Akiro USB microphone and Audacity on a Windows PC. In the 2nd century of the Christian era, the Empire of Rome comprehended the fairest part of the earth and the most civilized portion of mankind. The frontiers of that extensive monarchy were guarded by ancient renown and disciplined valour. The gentle but powerful influence of laws and manners had gradually cemented the union of the provinces. Their peaceful inhabitants enjoyed and abused the advantages of wealth and luxury. The image of a free constitution was preserved with decent reverence. The Roman Senate appeared to possess the sovereign authority and devolved on the emperors all the executive powers of government. During a happy period of more than 80 years, the public administration was conducted by the virtue and abilities of Nerva, Trajan, Hadrian, and the 2 Antonines. End of extract from the History of the Decline and Fall of the Roman Empire, Volume 1, by Edward Gibbon. This recording is in the public domain.
Sonnet 1 of Imaricdulf by E.C. Esquire from a Lamport Garland. Recorded for LibriVox.org by Ruth Golding, using a Samson Q1U USB mic and Audacity 2.1.0 on a Windows 7 PC. When first the rage of love assailed my heart, and towards my thoughts his fiery forces bent, eftsoons to shield me from his wounding dart, armed with disdain, I held him in contempt. Curled-headed love, when from Mount Erycine he saw this jeer, so ill thereof he brooks, that thence he speeds, unwilling to be seen, till he had ta'en his stand in thy fair looks. There, all enraged, his golden bow he bent, and knocked his arrow like a pretty elf, which when I saw, I humbly to him went, and cried, Hold, hold, and I will yield myself. Thus Cupid conquered me, and made me swear homage to him, and duty to my dear. End of Sonnet 1 of Imaricdulf by E.C. Esquire from a Lamport Garland.
The Evil Monk by Baudelaire. Apogee mic, USB microphone. MacBook Pro. The Evil Monk. The cloisters old expounded on their walls with paintings the beatic verity, the which, adorning their religious halls, enriched the frigidness of their austerity. In days when Christian seeds bloomed o'er the land, full many a noble monk unknown to-day upon the field of tombs would take his stand, exalting death in rude and simple way. My soul is a tomb where, bad monk that I be, I dwell and search its depths from all eternity, and naught bedecks the walls of the odious spot. O sluggard monk, when shall I glean aright from the living spectacle of my bitter lot, to mould my handiwork and mine eyes' delight? The end of The Evil Monk by Baudelaire. This recording is in the public domain. Audio-Technica AT2035 condenser microphone. Focusrite iTrack Solo USB interface. MacBook Pro. Echoes by Baudelaire. In nature's temple, living columns rise, which oftentimes give tongue to words subdued, and man traverses this symbolic wood, which looks at him with half-familiar eyes, like lingering echoes which afar confound themselves in deep and sombre unity, as vast as night, and like transplendency the scents and colors to each other respond. And scents there are, like infant's flesh as chaste, as sweet as oboes and as meadows fair, and others proud, corrupted, rich, and vast, which have the expansion of infinity, like amber, musk, and frankincense, and myrrh, that sing the soul's and senses' ecstasy. The end of Echoes by Baudelaire. This recording is in the public domain.
Psalm 133, Version 1, from the Psalms of David by Isaac Watts. Recorded for LibriVox.org by Bethesda Lilly, using the internal microphone of a Dell Inspiron laptop running Windows 7 and Audacity 1.3. Brotherly Love. Lo, what an entertaining sight are brethren that agree, brethren whose cheerful hearts unite in bands of piety. When streams of love from Christ the spring descend to every soul, and heavenly peace with balmy wing shades and bedews the whole, 'tis like the oil divinely sweet on Aaron's reverent head. The trickling drops perfumed his feet, and o'er his garments spread. 'Tis pleasant as the morning dews that fall on Zion's hill, where God his mildest glory shows, and makes his grace distill. End of Psalm 133. This recording is in the public domain. Psalm 61 from the Psalms of David by Isaac Watts. Recorded for LibriVox.org by Bethesda Lilly, using an Olympus DM620 digital recorder, Audacity 1.3, and a Dell Inspiron laptop. Safety in God. When overwhelmed with grief, my heart within me dies. Helpless and far from all relief, to heaven I lift mine eyes. O lead me to the rock that's high above my head, and make the covert of thy wings my shelter and my shade. Within thy presence, Lord, forever I'll abide. Thou art the tower of my defense, the refuge where I hide. Thou givest me the lot of those who fear thy name. If endless life be their reward, I shall possess the same. End of Psalm 61. This recording is in the public domain.
Burning Leaves, November, by Christopher Morley. Recorded for LibriVox.org by Maria Casper, using the built-in microphone of a Lenovo ThinkPad laptop and Audacity. Burning Leaves, November. These are the folios of April, all the library of spring, missals gilt and rubricated with the frost's illumining. Ruthless, we destroy these treasures, set the torch with hand profane, gone, like Alexandrian vellums, like the books of burnt Louvain. Yet these classics are immortal. Oh, collectors, have no fear, for the publisher will issue new editions every year. End of Burning Leaves, November, by Christopher Morley. This recording is in the public domain. An Open Fire by Don Marquis, recorded for LibriVox.org by Maria Casper, using a Samson USB Go mic on the cardioid setting, and Audacity on a Lenovo ThinkPad laptop. An Open Fire. These logs, with drama and with dream, are rife. For all their golden summers and green springs, through leaf and root they sucked the forest's life, drank in its secret, deep, essential things, its mid-wood moods, its mystic runes, its breathing hushes, stirred of fairy wings, its August nights and April noons, the garnered fervors of forgotten Junes, flare forth again and waste away, and in the sap that leaps and sings, we hear again the chant of cricket flings across the hawthorn-scented dusks of May. End of An Open Fire by Don Marquis. This recording is in the public domain. Morn by Helen Hunt Jackson, recorded for LibriVox.org by Maria Casper, using a Samson USB Go mic on the noise-canceling setting, with Audacity on a Lenovo ThinkPad laptop. Morn. In what a strange bewilderment do we awake each morn from out the brief night's sleep. Our struggling consciousness doth grope and creep its slow way back, as if it could not free itself from bonds unseen. Then memory, like sudden light, outflashes from its deep, the joy or grief which it had last to keep for us, and by the joy or grief we see the new day dawneth like the yesterday. We are unchanged, our life the same we knew before. I wonder if this is the way we wake from death's short sleep, to struggle through a brief bewilderment, and in dismay behold our life unto our old life true. End of Morn by Helen Hunt Jackson. This recording is in the public domain.
Extract from Pride and Prejudice by Jane Austen. Recorded for LibriVox.org by Melchior. Using Studio Project's C1 large diaphragm microphone, Focusrite Scarlett 18i20, and a Cubase 8 on a Windows PC. It is a truth universally acknowledged that a single man in possession of a good fortune must be in want of a wife. However little known the feelings or views of such a man may be on his first entering a neighborhood, this truth is so well fixed in the minds of the surrounding families that he is considered the rightful property of someone or other of their daughters. "My dear Mr. Bennet," said his lady to him one day, "have you heard that Netherfield Park is let at last?" Mr. Bennet replied that he had not. "But it is," returned she, "for Mrs. Long has just been here, and she told me all about it." Mr. Bennet made no answer. "Do you not want to know who has taken it?" cried his wife impatiently. "You want to tell me, and I have no objection to hearing it." This was invitation enough. End of excerpt from Pride and Prejudice by Jane Austen. This recording is in the public domain. Metsään nukkunut by Eino Leino. Recorded for LibriVox.org by Melchior, using a Studio Project's C4 small diaphragm microphone with omnidirectional capsule, and Focusrite Scarlett 8i6 audio interface, and Cubase 8 on a Windows PC. Mä oon kuin lapsi, metsään nukkunut. Mi hämyn tulleen herää huudahtain. Mut pois on Veikko, sisko hukkunut, ja huutohonsa vastaa kaiku vain. Ei tiedä koito hän, mik aika on, ei tiedä miss on koti, kussa tie. Käy teitä kyllä kautta hongikon, kun tietäis vaan, mi äidin luokse vie. Niin jylhä, kaamea on korpi, niin kaik on hiljaista ja harmajaa. Ei tunnu tuulonen, ei liiku puu, ja kuusten takaa peikot kurkistaa. Ja lapsi itkee, juoksee, lankeaa ja nousee, lankee, nousee jälleen. Mut pien on poika, suur on metsämaa, ja kaukana on kotikultainen. Mä oon kuin lapsi, metsään nukkunut, mi hämyn tullen herää huudahtain. Mut pois on Veikko, sisko hukkunut, ja huutohonsa vastaa kaiku vain. End of Metsään nukkunut by Eino Leino. This recording is in the public domain. Filosofeeraava ylioppilas by Eino Leino. Recorded for LibriVox.org by Melchior, using a Studio Project's C4 small diaphragm microphone with cardioid capsule, Focusrite Scarlett 8i6 audio interface Cubase 8, and a Windows PC. Voi tätä kurjaa maailmaa, voi sinuas ihmiskunta, sua säälin mä niin, et taasenkaan koko yöhön en saane unta. Mikä on tään elämän tarkoitus, mikä on kansan ja yksilön määrä, mikä absoluuttinen oikeus ja absoluuttinen väärä. Ja löytyykö mitään Jumalaa, ja jos löytyvi, minkä hän moinen? Hän itsekö ohjaa maailmaa, vai tehnee sen joku toinen? Jos Jumala onkin, on mahdoton, et oisi hän immanentti. Ei, nythän tää, hiis vieköön, on kuin pikku teologin tentti. Mut kurjaa, sen minä tiedän vaan, on reissata maailmassa, kun laina jo huomenna lankeaa ja tyhjä on miehen kassa. End of Filosofeeraava ylioppilas by Eino Leino. This recording is in the public domain.
The Three Quiet Gentlemen by Henry Lawson. Recorded for LibriVox.org by Gwen O'Brien. User effort H3-DM8313 USB dynamic microphone and Audacity on a Windows PC. There is a quiet gentleman a motoring in France. Oh, don't you hear the honking of a British motor car? Like any quiet gentleman that you may meet by chance, who doesn't wear a uniform and doesn't sport a star. Another quiet gentleman is sitting by his side. Oh, don't you hear the shuffling feet to the gapery? Donking of their motor car when they go for a ride is louder than the biggest gun that's made in Germany. Another quiet gentleman, who is very like the first, oh, don't you hear the twinkle of the sleigh bells in the snow? Is going out in Russia now to watch the best and worst. Oh, hear the bells of Petrograd are ringing Sutton Row. The Christmas bells of Petrograd that held the birth of Christ, the sleigh bells in the opera that held the birth of sin. While eyes of men are tried in hell and hearts of men are heist, are louder than the wildest spread that's burning in Berlin. End of The Three Quiet Gentlemen by Henry Lawson. This recording is in the public domain.
An extract from Chapter 14 of Kavanagh, A Tale, by Henry Wadsworth Longfellow, recorded for LibriVox by Carol Box, using a Blue Yeti USB microphone and Audacity on a Windows 7 PC. If spring came but once in a century, instead of once a year, or burst forth with the sound of an earthquake, and not in silence, what wonder and expectation there would be in all hearts to behold the miraculous change. But now the silent succession suggests nothing but necessity. To most men only the cessation of the miracle would be miraculous, and the perpetual exercise of God's power seems less wonderful than its withdrawal would be. We are like children who are astonished and delighted only by the second hand of the clock, not by the hour hand. End of an extract from Chapter 14 of Kavanagh, A Tale. This recording is in the public domain.
Excerpt from The Flower Princess. Author, Abby Farewell Brown. Microphone is Samsung Model Q1U. Connection type USB. This computer is home-built, running Windows 7 operating system. The Flower Princess. Once upon a time, there was a beautiful princess named Fleurette, who lived in a white marble palace on the top of a high hill. The Princess Fleurette was very fond of flowers, and all around the palace, from the very gates thereof, a fair garden, full of all kinds of wonderful plants, sloped down to the foot of the hill, where it was snugly enclosed with a high marble wall. Thus the hill was like a great nosegay rising up in the midst of the land, sending out sweet odors to perfume the air for miles, bright with color in the sunshine, and musical with the chorus of birds and the hum of millions of bees. End of excerpt.
Excerpt from Peer Gynt by Henrik Ibsen. Recorded for LibriVox.org by Christine G. Using an AKG Perception 120 USB microphone and Audacity on a Windows PC. So unspeakably poor then a soul can go, back to nothingness, into the grey of the mist. Thou beautiful earth, be not angry with me, that I trample thy grasses to no avail. Thou beautiful sun, thou hast squandered away thy glory of light in an empty hut. There was no one within it to hearten and warm. The owner, they tell me, was never at home. Beautiful sun and beautiful earth, you were foolish to bear and give light to my mother. The spirit is niggard, and nature lavish, and dearly one pays for one's birth with one's life. I will clamber up high to the dizziest peak, I will look once more on the rising sun, gaze till I'm tired over the promised land, then try to get snowdrifts pile up over me. They can write above them, here no one lies buried. And afterwards, then, let things go as they can.
Sonnet 102 by William Shakespeare. Recorded for LibriVox.org by Tavarish using AKG Project Studio P220 condenser microphone XLR connected to a PreSonus Audiobox i1 and Audacity 2.1 on a PC running Microsoft Windows 8. My love is strengthened, though more weak in seeming. I love not less, though less the show appear. That love is merchandised, whose rich esteeming the owner's tongue doth publish everywhere. Our love was new, and then but in the spring, when I was wont to greet it with my lays, as Philomel in summer's front doth sing, and stops her pipe in growth of riper days. Not that the summer is less pleasant now than when her mournful hymns did hush the night, but that wild music burthens every bough, and sweets grown common lose their dear delight. Therefore like her I sometime hold my tongue, because I would not dull you with my song. End of Sonnet 102 by William Shakespeare. This recording is in the public domain. Sonnet 103 by William Shakespeare, recorded for LibriVox.org by Tavarish using Samsung Go mic, USB microphone and Audacity 2.1 on a PC running Microsoft Windows 8.
Alack, what poverty my muse brings forth, that having such a scope to show her pride, the argument all bare is of more worth than when it hath my added praise beside. Oh, blame me not if I no more can write. Look in your glass, and there appears a face that overgoes my blunt invention quite, dulling my lines and doing me disgrace. Were it not sinful then, striving to mend, to mar the subject that before was well? For to no other pass my verses tend than of your graces and your gifts to tell. And more, much more, than in my verse can sit, your own glass shows you when you look in it. End of Sonnet 103 by William Shakespeare. This recording is in the public domain.
Minute Mysteries by Harold Austin Ripley. Recorded by Jennifer Fournier on an iPad 2 Air running iOS 9.2 using the built-in microphone and the AVR, Awesome Voice Recorder, app. Number 28, Accidental Death. Returning to town late one night, Professor Fordney was driving along an unfrequented road when the sight of a motorcycle policeman examining a car in a ditch caused him to stop and offer his services. Joining the policeman, he found that a man, obviously the driver, had been thrown through the windshield and was lying about 6 feet from the car. His examination disclosed that the man had been terribly cut about the head. The jugular vein was completely severed. The bent steering wheel, shattered glass, and the blood on the front seat and floor of the car were mute evidence of the tragedy. Fordney also noted the speedometer had stopped at 62. A search of the body revealed nothing unusual, except that the man wore only one glove. The other could not be found. The professor was pondering this when the policeman handed him his report of accidental death, saying, "Is this how you see it, sir?" "I think," replied Fordney slowly, "you'd better change that to murder. In the absence of any further evidence, it seems to be pretty clearly indicated." "Murder?" exclaimed the bewildered policeman. "I don't understand how you make that out." After explaining his reason, and with a final admonition to continue a careful search for the missing glove, the professor returned to his car and drove down the wide, smooth highway toward home and a good night's rest. Fordney's deduction was confirmed when the missing glove and the murderer were found. Solution. Had the man's injuries been caused only by being thrown through the windshield, there would have been no blood on the front seat of the car. Therefore, the professor knew the blood on the seat had been caused by injuries to the man, with probable murderous intent, before he was thrown through the windshield. His assailant had killed him, started the car, and had then hopped off the running board, hoping the wreckage would cover the murder. Forethought we may have, undoubtedly, but not foresight. End of recording. Inquire Within Upon Everything, number 2175, by Robert Kemp Philp. Recorded for LibriVox.org by Jennifer Fournier, using a Rode NT USB microphone and read-to-record recording software on a home-built computer running Windows 7. 2175. Dogs. The best way to keep dogs healthy is to let them have plenty of exercise and not to overfeed them. Let them at all times have a plentiful supply of clean water and encourage them to take to swimming, as it assists their cleanliness. Naldir soap is recommended as highly efficacious in ridding dogs of fleas. After using any soap, rinse it well off with clean water. Properly treated, dogs should be fed only once a day. Meat boiled for dogs, and the liquor in which it is boiled thickened with barley meal or oatmeal, forms capital food. End of Inquire Within Upon Everything, number 2175, by Robert Kemp Philp.
The 23rd Psalm, from Psalms of David by Isaac Watts. Recorded on a Rode Podcaster, connected by USB to a MacBook Pro, using Mac operating system number 10 and Audacity, version 2.0.5. Psalm 23. God our Shepherd. My shepherd is the living Lord. Now shall my wants be well supplied. His providence and holy word become my safety and my guide. In pastures where salvation grows, he makes me feed, he makes me rest. There living water gently flows, and all the foods divinely blessed. My wandering feet his ways mistake, but he restores my soul to peace, and leads me for his mercy's sake in the fair paths of righteousness. Though I walk through the gloomy vale where death and all its terrors are, my heart and hope shall never fail, for God my shepherd's with me there. Amidst the darkness and the deeps, thou art my comfort, thou my stay. Thy staff supports my feeble steps, thy rod directs my doubtful way. The sons of earth and sons of hell gaze at thy goodness and repine, to see my table spread so well, with living bread and cheerful wine. How I rejoice when on my head thy spirit condescends to rest. 'Tis a divine anointing shed like oil of gladness at a feast. Surely the mercies of the Lord attend his household all their days. There will I dwell, to hear his word, to seek his face, and sing his praise. End of Psalm. This LibriVox recording is in the public domain.
Years After the War in Australia by Henry Lawson. Sennheiser PC8 on-ear headset. USB connection. Sony VGN FW43GB. Windows 7. Extract from Years After the War in Australia. And, groaning and swearing, the pug replied, "I'm done. They've knocked me out. I'd fight them all for £1 a side, from the boss to the railsabout. My nut is cracked and my legs is broke, and it gives me worse than hell. I'd train for a scrap with a 12-stone bloke, and not with a bursting shell. You needn't mag, for I knowed, old chum, I knowed, old pal, you'd stick. But you can't hold out till the regulars come, and you'd best be nowhere quick. They've got a force and a gun ashore, both of our wings is broke. They'll storm the ridge in a minute more, and the best you can do is smoke." And Jim exclaimed, "You can smoke, you chaps, but me, gorblimey, no. The push that ran from the George Street traps won't run from a foreign foe. I'll stick to the gun while she makes them sick, and I'll stick to what's left of Bill." And they hiss through their blackened teeth, "We'll stick, by the blazing flame we will." And long years after the war was past, they told in the town and bush how the ridge of death to the bloody last was held by a Sydney push. How they fought to the end in a sheet of flame, how they fought with their rifle stocks, and earned, in a nobler sense, the name of their ancient weapons, rocks. End of poem. This recording is in the public domain.
Say Not the Struggle Not Availeth by Arthur Hugh Clough, recorded for LibriVox.org by Brian Darby using a Blue Encore 200 powered dynamic XLR microphone, a Tascam US2X2 interface, and microwave audio editor on a 2011 MacBook Pro. Say not the struggle not availeth, the labour and the wounds are vain, the enemy faints not nor faileth, and as things have been they remain. If hopes were dupes, fears may be liars. It may be in yon smoke concealed your comrades chase even now the flyers, and but for you possess the field. For while the tired waves vainly breaking seem here no painful inch to gain, far back through creeks and inlets making comes silent flooding in the main. And not by eastern windows only when daylight comes in the light. In front the sun climbs slow, how slowly, but westward look, the land is bright. End of Say Not the Struggle Not Availeth by Arthur Hugh Clough. This recording is in the public domain. Lights by Sarah Teasdale. Recorded for LibriVox.org by Brian Darby using a Blue Encore 300 condenser XLR microphone, a Tascam US 2X2 interface, and microwave audio editor on a 2011 MacBook Pro. When we come home at night and close the door, standing together in the shadowy room, safe in our own love and the gentle gloom, glad of familiar wall and chair and floor, glad to leave far below the clanging city, looking far downward to the glaring street, gaudy with light yet tired with many feet, in both of us wells up a wordless pity. Men have tried hard to put away the dark, a million lighted windows brilliantly inlay with squares of gold the winter night. But to us, standing here, there comes the stark sense of the lives behind each yellow light, and not one wholly joyous, proud, or free. End of Lights by Sarah Teasdale. This recording is in the public domain. Love Thee by Thomas Moore. Recorded for LibriVox.org by Brian Darby. Using a Shure Beta 58 Dynamic XLR microphone, a Tascam US 2X2 interface, and microwave audio editor on a 2011 MacBook Pro. Love thee? So well, so tenderly thou'rt loved, adored by me. Fame, fortune, wealth, and liberty were worthless without thee. Though brimmed with blessings pure and rare, life's cup before me lay. Unless thy love were mingled there, I'd spurn the draught away. Love thee, so well, so tenderly thou'rt loved, adored by me. Fame, fortune, wealth, and liberty are worthless without thee. Without thy smile, the monarch's lot to me were dark and lone, while with it even the humblest cot were brighter than his throne. Those worlds for which the conqueror sighs, for me would have no charms. My only world, thy gentle eyes, my throne, thy circling arms. Oh yes, so well, so tenderly thou'rt loved, adored by me. Whole realms of light and liberty were worthless without thee. End of Love Thee by Thomas Moore. This recording is in the public domain. The Camper by E. Pauline Johnson. Recorded for LibriVox.org by Brian Darby using an Electro Voice RE320 Dynamic XLR microphone, a Cloud Lifter interface into a Tascam US 2X2 interface, and a microwave audio editor on a 2011 MacBook Pro. Night. 'Neath the northern skies, lone, black, and grim, naught but the starlight lies twixt heaven and him. Of man no need has he, of God no prayer. He and his deity are brothers there. Above his bivouac the firs fling down through branches gaunt and black their needles brown. Afar some mountain streams, rock-bound and fleet, sing themselves through his dreams in cadence sweet. The pine trees whispering the heron's cry, the plover's passing wing his lullaby. And blinking overhead the white stars keep watch o'er his hemlock bed, his sinless sleep. End of The Camper by E. Pauline Johnson. This recording is in the public domain. In the Autumn Grass by Hamlin Garland. Recorded for LibriVox.org by Brian Darby using an AKG P220 XLR condenser microphone, a Tascam US 2X2 interface, and microwave audio editor on a 2011 MacBook Pro. Did you ever lie low in the depth of the plain, in the lee of a swell that lifts like a low-lying island out of the sea? When the blue joint shakes as an army of spears, when each flashing wave breaks in turn overhead and wails in the door of your ears? If you have heard in the midst of the roar the note of a lone gray bird, blown slantwise by overhead as he swiftly sped to his Southland haven once more. Oh, the music abroad in the air with the autumn wind sweeping his hand on the grass where the tiniest blade is astir, keeping voice in the dim wide choir of the infinite song, the refrain, the wild sad wail of the plain. End of In the Autumn Grass by Hamlin Garland. This recording is in the public domain. Challenge by Corporal John William Streets. Recorded for LibriVox.org by Brian Darby, using a Shure SM35 XLR head-worn condenser microphone, a Tascam US 2x2 interface, and microwave audio editor on a 2011 MacBook Pro. Go tell yon shadow stalking neath the trees with silent-footed terror. Go tell death he cannot with life's vast uncertainties affright the heart of youth. For youth cometh with flush of impulse, passion to defeat, undaunted purpose, vision clear discreed. To counteract, lay at death's unseen feet the gauntlet of defiance, far and wide, beyond the fear of that unknown exile, that brim of time, that web of darkness drawn across life's orient sky, there breaks a smile of light that swells into the hope of dawn. A dream within the dark like evening cool, like sunset mirrored in yon darkened pool. End of Challenge by Corporal John William Streets. This recording is in the public domain.
Psalm 24, Version 1, from the Psalms of David by Isaac Watts. Recorded for LibriVox.org by Bethesda Lilly, using an Olympus DM420 digital voice recorder and Audacity 1.3 on a Dell Inspiron laptop. Dwelling with God. The earth forever is the Lord's, with Adam's numerous race. He raised its arches o'er the floods, and built it on the seas. But who among the sons of men may visit thine abode? He that has hands from mischief clean, whose heart is right with God. This is the man may rise and take the blessings of his grace. This is the lot of those that seek the God of Jacob's face. Now let our souls' immortal powers to meet the Lord prepare. Lift up their everlasting doors, the King of glory's near. The King of glory, who can tell the wonders of his might? He rules the nations, but to dwell with saints is his delight. End of Psalm 24, Version 1. This recording is in the public domain.
To One in Bedlam by Ernest Dowson. Recorded for LibriVox.org by Newgate Novelist. Using a Samson Meteorite USB microphone and Audacity on an Asus Windows 10 laptop. With delicate mad hands behind his sordid bars, surely he hath his posies, which they tear and twine, those scentless wisps of straw, that miserably line his strait, caged universe, whereat the dull world stares, pedant and pitiful. Oh, how his rapt gaze wars with their stupidity! Know they what dreams divine lift his long, laughing reveries, like enchanted wine, and make his melancholy germane to the stars? O lamentable brother, if those pity thee, am I not fain of all thy lone eyes promise me? Half a fool's kingdom, far from men who sow and reap, all their days vanity? Better than mortal flowers thy moon-kissed roses seem, better than love or sleep, the star-crowned solitude of thine oblivious hours. End of To One in Bedlam by Ernest Dowson. This recording is in the public domain. Cherry Ripe by Thomas Campion. Recorded for LibriVox.org by Newgate Novelist. using a Philips voice tracer. There is a garden in her face where roses and white lilies grow. A heavenly paradise is that place, wherein all pleasant fruits doth flow. There cherries grow, which none may buy, till cherry ripe themselves do cry. Those cherries fairly do enclose of orient pearl a double row, which, when her lovely laughter shows, they look like rosebuds filled with snow. Yet them nor peer nor prince can buy, till cherry ripe themselves do cry. Her eyes like angels watch them still, her brows like bended bows do stand, threatening with piercing frowns to kill all that attempt, with eye or hand, those sacred cherries to come nigh, till cherry ripe themselves do cry. End of Cherry Ripe by Thomas Campion. This recording is in the public domain.
Psalm 126, Version 1, from the Psalms of David by Isaac Watts. Recorded for LibriVox.org by Bethesda Lilly using a Blue Snowball USB microphone and Audacity 1.3 on a Dell Inspiron laptop. Surprising Deliverance. When God restored our captive state, joy was our song and grace our theme. The grace beyond our hopes so great that joy appeared a painted dream. The scoffer owned thy hand and pays unwilling honor to thy name, while we with pleasure shout thy praise, with cheerful notes thy love proclaim. When we review our dismal fears, 'twas hard to think they'd vanish so. With God we left our flowing tears. He makes our joys like rivers flow. The man that in his furrowed field his scattered seed with sadness leaves will shout to see the harvest yield a welcome load of joyful sheaves. End of Psalm 126. This recording is in the public domain.
"20,000 Leagues Under the Sea" by Jules Verne. Recorded for LibriVox.org by Christine G. using a Samsung C05 XLR with a Xenix 302 USB interface and a pop filter on Windows 10. The year 1866 was marked by a bizarre development, an unexplained and downright inexplicable phenomenon that surely no one has forgotten. Without getting into those rumours that upset civilians in the seaports and deranged the public mind even far inland, it must be said that professional seamen were especially alarmed. Traders, ship owners, captains of vessels, skippers, and master mariners from Europe and America, naval officers from every country, and at their heels the various national governments on these two continents, were all extremely disturbed by the business. In essence, over a period of time several ships had encountered an enormous thing at sea. A long spindle-shaped object, sometimes giving off a phosphorescent glow, infinitely bigger and faster than any whale. The relevant data on this apparition, as recorded in various logbooks, agreed pretty closely as to the structure of the object or creature in question. Its unprecedented speed of movement, its startling locomotive power, and the unique vitality with which it seemed to be gifted. If it was a cetacean, it exceeded in bulk any whale previously classified by science. No naturalist, neither Cuvier nor Laspede, neither Professor Dameril nor Professor de Quatrefages, would have accepted the existence of such a monster sight unseen, specifically unseen by their own scientific eyes. Striking an average of observations taken at different times, rejecting those timid estimates that gave the object length of 200 feet, and ignoring those exaggerated views that saw it as a mile wide and 3 long, you could still assert that this phenomenal creature greatly exceeded the dimensions of anything then known to ichthyologists, if it existed at all.
I Dreamed in a Dream by Walt Whitman, recorded for LibriVox.org by Scotty Smith, using a Rode K2 microphone about 10.5 inches away. It has multi-patterns, and the pattern is set to roughly supercardioid, that is, between cardioid and figure of 8. It's plugged into an Audient ID4 interface and recorded in Reaper on Windows 10. I dreamed in a dream I saw a city invincible to the attacks of the whole of the rest of the earth. I dreamed that was the new city of friends. Nothing was greater there than the quality of robust love. It led the rest. It was seen every hour in the actions of the men of that city, and in all their looks and words. End of I Dreamed in a Dream by Walt Whitman. This recording is in the public domain.
The Road Not Taken by Robert Frost, recorded for LibriVox.org using an Electro-Voice ND767A XLR microphone through a Focusrite Scarlett 18i8 into Reaper running on a Windows laptop. The Road Not Taken. 2 roads diverged in a yellow wood, and sorry I could not travel both, and be one traveller, long I stood, and looked down one as far as I could to where it bent in the undergrowth. Then took the other, and just as fair, and having perhaps the better claim, because it was grassy and wanted wear. Though as for that, the passing there had worn them really about the same. And both that morning equally lay, and leaves no step had trodden black. Oh, I kept the first for another day, yet knowing how way leads on to way, I doubted if I should ever come back. I shall be telling this with a sigh, somewhere ages and ages hence. 2 roads diverged in a wood, and I took the one less travelled by, and that has made all the difference. End of The Road Not Taken. This recording is in the public domain. Christmas Trees by Robert Frost, recorded for LibriVox.org using a Studio Project's B3 XLR microphone through an RME Octamic into Reaper running on a Windows 7 desktop PC. Christmas Trees, a Christmas circular letter. The city had withdrawn into itself, and left at last the country to the country, when between whirls of snow not come to lie, and whirls of foliage not let laid, there drove a stranger to our yard who looked the city. Yet did in country fashion in that there he sat and waited till he drew us out, a buttoning coats to ask him who he was. He proved to be the city come again to look for something it had left behind, and could not do without and keep its Christmas. He asked if I would sell my Christmas trees, my woods, the young fir balsams, like a place where houses all are churches and have spires. I hadn't thought of them as Christmas trees. I doubt if I was tempted for a moment to sell them off their feet to go in cars, and leave the slope behind the house all bare, where the sun shines now no warmer than the moon. I'd hate to have them know it if I was. Yet more I'd hate to hold my trees except as others hold theirs or refuse for them, beyond the time of profitable growth, the trial by market everything must come to. I dallied so much with the thought of selling, then whether from mistaken courtesy and fear of seeming short of speech, or whether from hope of hearing good of what was mine, I said, "There aren't enough to be worth while." I could soon tell how many they would cut. You let me look them over. You could look, but don't expect I'm going to let you have them. Pasture they spring in, some in clumps too close, that lop each other of boughs, but not a few quite solitary and having equal boughs all round and round. The latter he nodded yes to, or paused to say, beneath some lovelier one, with a buyer's moderation, "That would do." I thought so too, but wasn't there to say so. We climbed the pasture on the south, crossed over, and came down on the north. He said 1,000. 1,000 Christmas trees? At what a piece? He felt some need of softening that to me. 1,000 trees would come to $30. Then I was certain I had never meant to let him have them, never show surprise. But $30 seemed so small beside the extent of pasture I should strip. 3 cents, for that was all they figured out apiece. 3 cents so small beside the dollar friends I should be writing to within the hour. Would pay in cities for good trees like those. Regular vestry trees whose Sunday schools could hang enough on to pick off enough. 1,000 Christmas trees I didn't know I had. Worth 3 cents more to give away than sell, as may be shown by a simple calculation. Too bad I couldn't lay one in a letter. I can't help wishing I could send you one, and wishing you herewith a Merry Christmas. End of Christmas Trees by Robert Frost. This recording is in the public domain. An Old Man's Winter Night by Robert Frost. Recorded for LibriVox.org using a Shure SM57 XLR microphone through a Midas Venice U24 mixing console into Reaper, running on a Windows 7 desktop PC. An Old Man's Winter Night. All out of doors looked darkly in at him, through the thin frost, almost in separate stars, that gathers on the pane in empty rooms. What kept his eyes from giving back the gaze was the lamp tilted near them in his hand. What kept him from remembering what it was that brought him to that creaking room was age. He stood with barrels round him at a loss. And having scared the cellar under him in clomping there, he scared it once again in clomping off, and scared the outer night, which has its sounds familiar like the roar of trees and crack of branches, common things. But nothing so like beating on a box, a light he was to no one but himself, where now he sat, concerned with he knew what, a quiet light. And then, not even that. He consigned to the moon such as she was, so late arising to the broken moon, as better than the sun in any case, for such a charge, his snow upon the roof, his icicles along the wall to keep, and slept. The log that shifted with a jolt, once in the stove, disturbed him, and he shifted, and eased his heavy breathing, but still slept. One aged man, one man, can't fill a house, a farm, a countryside, or if he can, it's thus he does it of a winter night. End of An Old Man's Winter Night by Robert Frost. This recording is in the public domain.
A selection from Act 2, Scene 2 of Romeo and Juliet by William Shakespeare. Recorded for LibriVox.org by Andrew Frew, using a Rode NT1A condensing microphone plugged into a Zoom H4 recorder. But soft, what light through yonder window breaks? It is the east, and Juliet is the sun. Arise, fair sun, and kill the envious moon, who is already sick and pale with grief, that thou, her maid, art far more fair than she. Be not her maid, since she is envious. Her vestial livery is but sick and green, and none but fools do wear it. Cast it off. It is my lady, oh, it is my love, oh, that she knew she were. She speaks, yet she says nothing. What of that? Her eye discourses, I will answer it. Now I am too bold. 'Tis not to me she speaks. Two of the fairest stars in all the heaven, having some business, do entreat her eyes to twinkle in their spheres till they return. What if her eyes were there, they in her head? The brightness of her cheek would shame those stars, as daylight doth a lamp. Her eyes in heaven would through the airy region stream so bright that birds would sing and think it were not night. See how she leans her cheek upon her hand. Oh, that I were a glove upon that hand, that I might touch that cheek. End of selection from Act 2, Scene 2 of Romeo and Juliet by William Shakespeare. This recording is in the public domain. A selection from Act 2, Scene 2 of Romeo and Juliet by William Shakespeare. Recorded for LibriVox.org by Andrew Frew, using a Shure SM57 plugged into a Zoom H4 recorder. But soft, what light through yonder window breaks? It is the east, and Juliet is the sun. Arise, fair sun, and kill the envious moon, who is already sick and pale with grief, that thou, her maid, art far more fair than she. Be not her maid, since she is envious. Her vestial livery is but sick and green, and none but fools do wear it. Cast it off. It is my lady. Oh, it is my love. Oh, that she knew she were. She speaks, yet she says nothing. What of that? Her eye discourses. I will answer it. I am too bold. 'Tis not to me she speaks. Two of the fairest stars in all the heaven, having some business, do entreat her eyes to twinkle in their spheres till they return. What if her eyes were there, they in her head? The brightness of her cheek would shame those stars, as daylight doth a lamp. Her eyes in heaven would through the airy regions stream so bright, that birds would sing and think it were not night. See how she leans her cheek upon her hand. Oh, that I were a glove upon that hand, that I might touch that cheek. End of selection from Act 2, Scene 2 of Romeo and Juliet by William Shakespeare. This recording is in the public domain. A selection from Act 2, Scene 2 of Romeo and Juliet by William Shakespeare. Recorded for LibriVox.org by Andrew Frew using a cable-up chrome finish dynamic microphone that came free with my Tascam sound card about 15 years ago, and plugged into a Zoom H4 recorder. But soft, what light through yonder window breaks? It is the east, and Juliet is the sun. Arise, fair sun, and kill the envious moon, who is already sick and pale with grief, that thou, her maid, art far more fair than she. Be not her maid, since she is envious. Her vestial livery is but sick and green, and none but fools do wear it. Cast it off. It is my lady. Oh, it is my love. Oh, that she knew she were. She speaks, yet she says nothing. What of that? Her eye discourses. I will answer it. I am too bold. 'Tis not to me she speaks. Two of the fairest stars in all the heaven, having some business, do entreat her eyes to twinkle in their spheres till they return. What if her eyes were there, they in her head? The brightness of her cheek would shame those stars, as daylight doth a lamp. Her eyes in heaven would through the airy regions stream so bright, that birds would sing and think it were not night. See how she leans her cheek upon her hand. Oh, that I were a glove upon that hand, that I might touch that cheek. End of selection from Act 2, Scene 2 of Romeo and Juliet by William Shakespeare. This recording is in the public domain. A selection from Act 2, Scene 2 of Romeo and Juliet by William Shakespeare. Recorded for LibriVox.org by Andrew Frew using a Samsung Galaxy S5 with the built-in microphone and a titanium recorder as the app for doing the recording. But soft, what light through yonder window breaks? It is the east, and Juliet is the sun. Arise, fair sun, and kill the envious moon, who is already sick and pale with grief, that thou, her maid, art far more fair than she. Be not her maid, since she is envious. Her vestial livery is but sick and green, and none but fools do wear it. Cast it off. It is my lady. Oh, it is my love. Oh, that she knew she were. She speaks, yet she says nothing. What of that? Her eye discourses. I will answer it. I am too bold. 'Tis not to me she speaks. Two of the fairest stars in all the heaven, having some business, do entreat her eyes to twinkle in their spheres till they return. What if her eyes were there, they in her head? The brightness of her cheek would shame those stars, as daylight doth a lamp. Her eyes in heaven would through the airy regions stream so bright, that birds would sing and think it were not night. See how she leans her cheek upon her hand. Oh, that I were a glove upon that hand, that I might touch that cheek. End of selection from Act 2, Scene 2 of Romeo and Juliet by William Shakespeare. This recording is in the public domain.
Home They Brought a Warrior Dead by Alfred Tennyson. Recorded for LibriVox.org by Newgate Novelist, using a Rode NT USB microphone and Audacity on an Asus laptop with Windows 10. Home they brought her warrior dead. She nor swooned nor uttered cry. All her maidens, watching, said, "She must weep or she will die." Then they praised him soft and low, called him worthy to be loved, truest friend and noblest foe, yet she neither spoke nor moved. Stole a maiden from her place, lightly to the warrior stepped, took the face cloth from the face, yet she neither moved nor wept. Rose a nurse of 90 years, set his child upon her knee. Like summer tempest came her tears, "Sweet my child, I live for thee." End of Home They Brought a Warrior Dead by Alfred Tennyson. This recording is in the public domain.
Pretty Cow by Jane Taylor, recorded for LibriVox.org by Scotty Smith, using a Shure PG58 microphone 4 inches away, plugged into a Tascam DR60D Mark II recorder. Thank you, pretty cow that made pleasant milk to soak my bread, every day and every night, warm and fresh and sweet and white. Do not chew the hemlock rank growing on the weedy bank, but the yellow cowslips eat, that will make it very sweet, where the purple violet grows, where the bubbling water flows, where the grass is fresh and fine. Pretty cow, go there and dine. End of Pretty Cow by Jane Taylor. This recording is in the public domain. There Was a Little Girl by Henry Wadsworth Longfellow, recorded for LibriVox.org by Scotty Smith, using an MXL V67G microphone 8 inches away into a Tascam DR60D Mark II recorder. There was a little girl, and she had a little curl right in the middle of her forehead. When she was good, she was very, very good, and when she was bad, she was horrid. One day she went upstairs, when her parents, unawares, in the kitchen were occupied with meals, and she stood upon her head in her little trundle bed, and then began hurraying with her heels. Her mother heard the noise, and she thought it was the boys a-playing at a combat in the attic. But when she climbed the stair and found Jemima there, she took and she did spank her most emphatic. End of There Was a Little Girl by Henry Wadsworth Longfellow. This recording is in the public domain. The Unseen Playmate by Robert Louis Stevenson, recorded for LibriVox.org by Scotty Smith, using a Rode Video Micro microphone about 4 inches away, plugged into a Tascam DR60D Mark II recorder. When children are playing alone on the green, in comes the playmate that never was seen. When children are happy and lonely and good, the friend of the children comes out of the wood. Nobody heard him and nobody saw, his is a picture you never could draw. But he's sure to be present abroad or at home, when children are happy and playing alone. He lies in the laurels, he runs on the grass, he sings when you tinkle the musical glass. Whene'er you're happy and cannot tell why, the friend of the children is sure to be by. He loves to be little, he hates to be big. 'Tis he that inhabits the caves that you dig. 'Tis he, when you play with your soldiers of tin, that sides with the Frenchman and never can win. 'Tis he, when at night you go off to your bed, bids you go to your sleep and not trouble your head. For wherever they're lying, in cupboard or shelf, 'tis he will take care of your playthings himself. End of The Unseen Playmate by Robert Louis Stevenson. This recording is in the public domain. If Ever I See by Lydia Maria Child, recorded for LibriVox.org by Scotty Smith, using a blue baby bottle microphone about 8 to 10 inches away, into a Tascam DR60D Mark II recorder. If ever I see on bush or tree young birds in their pretty nest, I must not in play steal the birds away to grieve their mother's breast. My mother, I know, would sorrow so should I be stolen away. So I'll speak to the birds in my softest words, nor hurt them in my play. And when they can fly in the bright blue sky, they'll warble a song to me. And then, if I'm sad, it will make me glad to think they are happy and free. End of If Ever I See by Lydia Maria Child. This recording is in the public domain. Sage Counsel by Arthur Thomas Quiller Couch, recorded for LibriVox.org by Scotty Smith, using a Sennheiser MKH 416 shotgun microphone about 4 to 6 inches away, into a Tascam DR60D Mark II recorder. The lion is the beast to fight. He leaps along the plain, and if you run with all your might, he runs with all his mane. I'm glad I'm not a Hottentot, but if I were with outward column, I'd either faint upon the spot, or hie me up a leafy palm. The chamois is the beast to hunt, he's fleeter than the wind, and when the chamois is in front, the hunter is behind. The Tyrolese make famous cheese, and hunt the chamois o'er the chasms. I choose the former, if you please, for precipices give me spasms. The polar bear will make a rug almost as white as snow, but if he gets you in his hug, he rarely lets you go. And polar ice looks very nice with all the colors of a prism, but if you follow my advice, stay home and learn your catechism. End of Sage Counsel by Arthur Thomas Quiller Couch. This recording is in the public domain.
Sonnet 21 by William Shakespeare, recorded for LibriVox.org by Mark Crowell Groves, using a Behringer C1 microphone, Tascam US 800 PC audio interface, Audacity software on a Windows PC. So it is not with me as with that muse, stirred by a painted beauty to his verse, who heaven itself for ornament doth use, and every fair with his fair doth rehearse, making a couplement of proud compare, with sun and moon, with earth and sea's rich gems, with April's first-born flowers, and all things rare, that heaven's air in this huge rondure hems. O let me, true in love, but truly right, and then believe me, my love is as fair as any mother's child, though not so bright, as those gold candles fixed in heaven's air. Let them say more than like of hearsay will. I will not praise that purpose not to sell. End of Sonnet 21 by William Shakespeare. This recording is in the public domain.
All the World's a Stage by William Shakespeare. This microphone is by Rode and it's an NT1A cardioid condenser, otherwise known as capacitor mic. It's connected by XLR to a DAV BG1 preamp, and that goes into a Tascam HD P2 recorder. It will then be edited on a Mac computer with El Capitano operating system using Reaper as the editing program. All the world's a stage, and all the men and women merely players. They have their exits and their entrances, and one man in his time plays many parts, his acts being 7 ages. At first the infant mewling and puking in the nurse's arms, then the whining schoolboy with his satchel and shining morning face, creeping like snail unwillingly to school. And then the lover, sighing like furnace, with a woeful ballad made to his mistress's eyebrow. Then a soldier full of strange oaths, and bearded like the pard, jealous in honour, sudden and quick in quarrel, seeking the bubble reputation even in the cannon's mouth. Then the justice, in fair round belly with good capon lined, with eyes severe and beard of formal cut, full of wise saws and modern instances, and so he plays his part. The 6th age shifts into the lean and slippered pantaloon, with spectacles on nose and pouch on side, his youthful hose, well saved, a world too wide for his shrunk shank, and his big manly voice, turning again towards childish treble, pipes and whistles in his sound. Last scene of all, that ends this strange eventful history, is second childishness and mere oblivion, sans teeth, sans eyes, sans teeth, sans everything. This recording is in the public domain.
I Wandered Lonely as a Cloud by William Wordsworth, read for LibriVox.org by Eva Davis on an Ars Technica or AT2020 Plus microphone. I Wandered Lonely as a Cloud by William Wordsworth. I wandered lonely as a cloud that floats on high o'er vales and hills, when all at once I saw a crowd, a host of golden daffodils, beside the lake, beneath the trees, fluttering and dancing in the breeze. Continuous as the stars that shine and twinkle on the Milky Way, they stretched in never-ending line along the margin of a bay. 10,000 saw I at a glance, tossing their heads in sprightly dance. The waves beside them danced, but they outdid the sparkling waves in glee. A poet could not but be gay in such a jocund company. I gazed and gazed, but little thought what wealth to me the show had brought. For oft, when on my couch I lie in vacant or in pensive mood, they flash upon that inward eye, which is the bliss of solitude. And then my heart with pleasure fills, and dances with the daffodils. End of poem. This recording is in the public domain.